Welcome to the weather forecast on CIA TV channel. Dear friends, before we get started, please support us by liking and subscribing to the channel to stay up to date with the latest weather forecasts. In this video, I want to show you the big change that Hurricane Erin is super strong. The winds are now 130 miles per hour, which is about 210 kilometers per hour. That's Hurricane Erin's giant winds that are sustained in the storm. And we're seeing those tropical storms. So we're showing you how it's likely to get closer to North Carolina, Bermuda, and Atlantic Canada. Also, we're moving out here. There's a new tropical wave near the Cape Verde Islands that's continuing to move westward. And that's going to be how it's going to develop throughout the week. We're thinking of you if you're dealing with these rain bands in tropical storm conditions throughout the day. The extreme southeast and south of the Bahamas will be back through the Turks and the Souths. It's definitely going to be very severe over the next 12 hours or so as the storm continues to turn northwest and eventually north. The immediate concern is definitely Erin, with the impacts in the Turks and Souths and the southeastern Bahamas that are making that curve. It's turning. It still looks to be between the outer banks of North Carolina and Bermuda. This is a big system, but the core of the storm is going to be west of Bermuda to eastern North Carolina. That's where the storm surge is expected to be on Wednesday. There's going to be significant beach erosion expected on the outer banks. We're tracking duck, Corella, Hatteras. So just a heads up on the outer banks of North Carolina. There's some significant erosion. Of course, those seas are going to be extremely rough as we head toward Bermuda. The storm is going to be moving west, but you can see tropical storm force winds coming across the southeastern Bahamas and the Turks and Souths. So Bermuda, we're at least on the edge of some tropical storm conditions as we head into Wednesday and Wednesday night. The system will expand, the heaviest weather to the west, dangerously rough seas. Very rough seas, but we're still tracking Bermuda. Then we'll be back over the Avalon Peninsula, Newfoundland. So, the seas will be choppy. But if it looks like it's going to get a little closer to the Avalon Peninsula, we'll go into action mode. And you can see this is Bermuda, the outer banks of North Carolina. It's starting to turn. Then eventually north to the outer banks of North Carolina. Some gusty winds that could produce some active rain bands, yes, but ocean erosion is a big issue. And then move around here to the south of Nova Scotia. Now, in terms of strength, this storm will maintain major hurricane status for a few days as it continues to turn. This is a day, 2 days. As we get through 3 days, there's going to be some weakening as it picks up. As it moves north, it's going to encounter colder waters. So we're going to have some gradual weakening. But even as it gets closer to the Atlantic part of Canada, it's still going to be very strong. That's why I'm warning. Some of that band could even come into us in the central Bahamas. Extremely dangerous seas. Then as we move into tomorrow, you can see all of this. The most severe weather could see some offshore rain bands. But the most severe weather will be over the eastern Bahamas. It's a huge system. You see how big it is? Yeah, 500 miles wide, but the core of the storm's winds. So Wednesday afternoon. You see it kind of splitting North Carolina and Bermuda. So, again, the outer coast of North Carolina. There's Bermuda, and the core of the storm's winds seems to be moving right into the middle. But because it's so big, it could be cut off by 1 or 2 of the outer rain bands out of North Carolina. And again, Bermuda, especially on Thursday as it moves north, those outer rain bands. The secondary bands could cut us off in Bermuda with some of the higher gusts. And then the winds will definitely be gusty. And then you can see Friday into Saturday watching how this storm gets closer to Newfoundland. Alright, look at those swells coming up. We're back in this Baja Sea, which is extremely dangerous. We know about this. The east coast of the United States, the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos, Bermuda, moving up toward the Maritimes, New England, rough seas. This will continue south and east of Cape Cod, Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. But rough seas. By Friday, this is the central part of the region, about 22 feet high. We're talking about 40 feet of water in some spots, dangerously large surf, large areas of erosion that we're going to see over a large area. Now, back to this. We're in the Caribbean, in monitoring mode, again, in Anguilla, over Barbados. This is Erin. We're monitoring this activity here for potential development. Right now, development seems slow, which is good. But we've seen these things develop really quickly. And then, you see a lot of unusual weather here, right? We've got a little spot here. It's really north of it. There's a little bit of a vortex here. Well, Cabo Verde, we've seen some heavier weather, some showers moving in. That's the area that we're monitoring, and that's going to be approaching us in the Caribbean as we move into the weekend. So, this new area, once it gets to the Caribbean, there's going to be some development. I'm not sure how much development there is yet because you can see it out there. So I need another day to get a good idea of how much it develops before it moves into some of the Caribbean. The U.S. model, as it moves into the eastern and northeastern Caribbean, will treat this as a tropical depression, but that's where we're tracking. That being said, across the eastern Caribbean from Barbados, St. Lucia northward, we're in a watch right now. If that does work out, it's going to bring us some strong winds, tropical storm-like conditions, to some of the eastern and northeastern Caribbean as we move into Thursday night and especially Friday. And then track another tropical wave that the models are trying to develop. So that's a scenario here, and again I've got you covered. We're in the Caribbean. So as this gets closer to us in the Caribbean, the water temperatures are just getting warmer. And I know sometimes the models don't really see what's going on in the environment. In any case, Friday through the weekend, it looks like we're going to see a higher chance of landfall. I'll be watching that very closely. But St. Lucia, Barbados to the north, across Anguilla at this point. I'll give you a heads up if I think this is going to become a tropical storm or a hurricane sooner. I'll let you know with a heads up. In short, Hurricane Erin is turning into rough, dangerous seas. We're in a watch right now, not for Erin, but for the next system in the Atlantic. We're in a watch right now for parts of the eastern Caribbean. I'm watching that very closely. The next name on the list is Ferdinand. Now, let's go back in time here, over the Caribbean throughout the day. Some scattered showers and storms. That's about it. Jamaica, we're going to have a scattered storm shower. I think we might have one or two. And then they're going to shift east. As we move into Wednesday, scattered storm showers around. But looking at this, here's the U.S. model that shows that Thursday night, that's when we could see some of that rain moving in with the potential of a developing system. Now, as we look at the rainfall totals, having tracked Turks and Souths, we're going to have those tropical storm conditions, 4 inches of rain or 100 millimeters of rain, plus that's what we're seeing. We're thinking of you in Turks and Souths. This morning in the southeast Bahamas, not only are there strong winds, but there's also a lot of rain. Elsewhere, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti, with all of this to the north, we could see some spots with about 3 inches or 75 millimeters of rain. But then as we go through Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Bart's to the south, not as much. St. Vincent, Grenadines, Grenada, the rain chances are still low, not too high. Suriname, Guyana, still tracking west of Panama, parts of Costa Rica, especially on the Pacific side. Higher rain chances. A little spot here as well. Inland Honduras, western Nicaragua, El Salvador, some additional rain. Rain totals over 75 millimeters. Most of it will be in western Mexico, and then some scattered areas of rain and storms elsewhere across the southern and southeastern United States. So, Jamaica. Today we have a 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms. Tomorrow the Cayman Islands have a 20% chance. Trinidad and Tobago has a 30 to 40% chance. Rain chances are not too high. Barbados is low. Everybody's watching to the east. St. Lucia, 30% chance of rain. Again, Barbados, north of St. Lucia is under a watch. 20 to 30% chance of rain in Grenada. 20 to 30% chance of rain in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Scattered chance of rain in Martinique. Rain chances are also low in Dominica. Only a 30% chance. 30 to 40% chance of rain. As we head back to Guadeloupe, the rain chances are still low. We're moving north. We're still in a watch for Tigga and Barbuda. 30 to 40% chance of rain. We're just watching Erin. Now we're watching a new area off the coast of Africa. St. Kitts and Nevis, we're watching. Rain chance around 30%, 30 to 40% chance in Anguilla, St. Bart, St. Martin Sebastia, all watching. Puerto Rico. 40% chance of scattered rain and storms in some areas, which could lead to additional flooding, especially after what we saw in Erin. Same with the British and US Virgin Islands. The Bahamas are of course cut off. All eyes are on the southeastern Bahamas for the tropical storm situation. However, the storm situation is still moving east. Turks and Caicos will continue to watch the tropical storm situation for the next 12 to 16 hours as it slows down a little bit. Dominican Republic, 40% chance of rain. 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms today in Haiti. 20 to 30% chance of showers remaining low in Belize, Aruba, Heroes and Bonaire. Rain chances remain low. About a 20% chance of showers. 40% chance over the next 2 days in Guyana. 30% chance. You see it coming down in Suriname as we head back to Cuba. Isolated showers are 60 to 70% likely in Costa Rica, Panama. 40% chance over the next few days in Nicaragua and 30% chance over the next few days in Honduras. However, the western region has a higher chance of rain. Guatemala and El Salvador could continue to see some flooding. 50% chance in Mexico City, 30% chance across the Yucatan Peninsula. 40 to 50% chance in northern Colombia. 40 to 50% chance and increasing north of Venezuela and Bermuda. Of course, as we track on Wednesday, the storm situation will shift westward, but we could get some tropical storm conditions. At least rough seas and some strong wind gusts. We are in tracking mode. We will continuously update the storm situation in the next news. Please subscribe to the channel to follow. Thank you for watching the news on CIA TV channel.